YSK Choosing Reject All doesn't reject all cookies. Why YSK to avoid cookies? The user should unselect legitimate interest, as when Reject All is selected, the site isn't legally required to exclude legitimate interest cookies, which are often the exact same advertising cookies. When the EU fought for a Reject All button, advertisers lobbied for a workaround, i.e. a loophole. Legitimate interest is that workaround, allowing sites and advertisers to collect, in many cases, the same cookies received when Accept All is clicked by the end user. See this Vice article. Legitimate interest is perfectly crafted loophole in the GDPR. It may be claimed without reference to a particular purpose, without proof or explanation of the legitimacy of the interest or of the benefits outweighing the risks. That marketing a terribly broad term is a priori given as an example of something that could be a legitimate interest, and that ease convenience of rejection is not required for legitimate interest data processing. WTF. I honestly hate how often we are forced to spend those extra 30 seconds to a minute clicking our way through their nonsense because they always hide the reject all, and now we come to find that it doesn't do shit. What the heck? Why do I even bother with the interwebs? Sometimes lobbying seems like corruption to me. And this is why I have adblock. Is there a way to just auto-reject them? But also, I'm worried those unmarked toggles to turn cookies on and off may be malicious design too. Because most of the time I have no real way to know if the toggle is on or off. It would be super easy for them to make off green to confuse us. There's never a refuse all option for legitimate interest either, so you have to click about 50 times to refuse them all individually. It's fucking insidious the amount of time we're forced to waste. So then what is the actual difference between accept all and reject all? What was the point, then, if they just wrote in a loophole that circumvents the whole thing anyway? Why even pass and enforce it? No. But when it's there, it is almost always the simplest option to just make the thing go away. At this point, any personal data or privacy question is just rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. Then stop fucking bothering me with the choice every time I click on a website if you're just gonna use a loophole to ignore my choice anyway. That's whack. But even more maddening is the sites that have some sort of overlay over the buttons so that clicking to turn off, nothing happens. God, I hate the internet these days. Every inch is trash. How do we protest? Who is in charge for this? How do we vote for a change? I need more info. When all does not mean all yet sounds like legislative and corporate logic to me. Then what was the fucking point? WTF is this about? Legitimate interest in what? Nowadays they make so hard to reject cookies, some sites like only option is accept. Reject all cookies cannot reject all cookies. Telling the site that you don't want cookies will set a cookie, yeah, they call it something else. But it's just a cookie essentially. Rejecting all cookies would mean that you get the reject cookies pop-up on reloading the page. What scumbag cocksucker made that law, huh? How did they and the shitty children benefit, I wonder? I use blockader thinking face. This is why I don't use the internet, man. There shouldn't be any cookie pop-ups. Non-necessary cookies should be completely optional. Optional as in deactivated by default. And there being a button on every website saying yes, I want to allow all cookies. And when clicking on it, it would have to be confirmed once more. The whole cookie solution is stupid AF. Now they can put whatever they want in an agree statement, nobody's going to read all of it. But they get you to click agree to something we didn't have to agree to. If anything has cookies, just close it. There's always another way. You can also set up your web browser to make every cookie a temporary cookie. Then when you close your browser, they all go away. It's effective and easier than dealing with whatever this is. And you don't have to worry about the websites behaving like they are supposed to. You can make exceptions for websites whose cookies you actually want to keep. You can also disable third-party cookies, which prevents most spam cookies and does not affect 99% of websites. You can make exceptions if needed. Repeat after me: always run your browsers in private mode. This way, when you close your browser, all cookies history is deleted. I had to click reject all at the Vice article. There's a special place in hell for the motherfucker that came up with this legitimate interest. Bullshit. How often should I be deleting all cookies? Well, motherfucker. Heart exclamation, heart exclamation, heart exclamation. It's so laborious, but I try to always reject everything manually cause I'm smart enough to not trust them, and these days you have multiple cookies providers for one article and then a newsletter in page pop-up and then an ad video THTS another in page pop-up, then you press back and it doesn't go back to the last page SMH. My browser is set up to purge all cookies unless I whitelist them, then again I only keep login ones. I just set my browser to delete all cookies every time I close it. And this is why I use alternative browsers. What happens when you do nothing and just look around the accept cookie banner like I have been doing at Imager for over a year since there is no reject option? How much should I worry about cookies if I mostly do private browsing on Safari? GDPR is the perfect example of what happens when idiots who don't understand technology try to regulate it. Cookies are stored in your browser and it's your browser that sends them to web servers. Your cookie preference should be set in your browser. But instead of regulating a couple of companies that make browsers for Europeans, the EU decided to regulate the millions of websites that Europeans might access via the World Wide Web. Is there any app to auto-reject these? I knew this, and I take the time to find the legitimate interest options, which are hidden a lot. The reject all is extremely misleading. I am more mad none of these sites have sent me my cookies yet. God, I wish they just rolled back this regulation. I'm fine with cookies if it means I don't have all these pop-ups every day. Alternatively, have it as a web browser setting that sets it by default to your preference. U-Matrix is a little complicated at first, but can block cookies per site and specify which domains are setting cookies, and you can block them per domain. Thanks. Now also legitimate interest nope. I'll also state that generally, it's tracking cookies with the intent to personalize advertisement. Clicking no doesn't stop them from serving ads or from using any cookies. Just that it won't use your past browsing cookies for the current ads on the site. It'll still use cookies, and you will still see ads. I was absolutely deadly sure that legitimate interest is just a loophole. It even sounds like they're saying if we think you might actually want them, we'll make you have these cookies. Thanks for the confirmation. I already unselect it every time.